Dad just imbued love of the water as soon as work, chores, anything done, whatever method we were going to be in the water. And the water here was utterly clear. Clear to where I will still dream about things. My name is Richard Braren. Born October 15th, 1945. I mentioned Asheville, North Carolina, but this was home. And here at 455 Poinciana Drive, moved in 1950. And although I've lived in other marriages, houses, and other places in Sarasota since that time, this has always been the base I come back to. And Dad built this house, and he built a lot of the houses professors and other people have had around here. Dad started building houses at that time, and he built houses all over Longboat Key, Siesta Key, Southgate, and he had essentially three companies. One built houses like this, to little, not quite as big as this, that your nice middle class, upper middle class houses are going to be, and that was Southgate and so forth. And he thrived well at building houses because he built excellent houses for a good price, well designed, and he thrived. And now comes the Uplands. The Uplands, geologically, are the nicest land out here, but we were to be the working class people who helped everybody else, and we might be the kitchen help or not, or the whatever they might need in the area. But that was what the Uplands was supposed to be. But it's got this real nice lake here. Now comes developers up and down, and booms and busts. And this lake was a water hole that was full of weeds, growth, etc. Not a nice open lake like it is now. This lake also was prolific with bass and brim. And you can catch them all, and the water was clean. It's never been real clear. It's been very tannic, but at times it was a lot clearer than it is now, and you could actually jump in it, and well, you always washed yourself off if there's some reason to jump in it. The dense vegetation has always been an outflow for this sinkhole that was artesian fed ever since prehistory, going back a few hundred years. Apparently the Native Americans, the Mayaca people as I like to call them, would use this, but so would animals. And so there was bird and game all the time. And you would find bones of animals, not really well fossilized, but they hadn't really rotted away either. And up a little further, you would find arrowheads, nice arrowheads, and I think my brother still has most of the ones that were found. That's where I grew up, without all the fill and everything in the bayfront. And the water was just so clear. That was listed as a great fishing part. The end of Edwards Drive was listed as a great fishing waiting part. And it used to be before the mangrove and other stuff grew up and you only had one little hole to go through. And off of the bays and other places, there were lots and just gobs of fish out there. And they brag about how many fish you could catch. You'd see pictures of people with gobs of racks of fish caught, and they were catching them semi-recreationally. That wasn't the commercial fishermen, it was just anybody could catch them. The North Bay right opposite us was big, wide, and full of fish. Coming back onto Bird Key one day at the foot of that little divided bridge, when this little mud flat was there, a boat, the standard flat bottom fish boat, one of those had sunk, and they're that on the edge, and they had a place where they sold bait and smoked mullet. And I asked the guy, what is he going to do? And I'm about 5 years old. And I said, what's he going to do with that? And he says, your daddy has a truck, and if some of us get together and we put that in the truck, you can have it. And so right over here in that side of the yard, I took that boat apart, and it was actually in the back a little bit. Just took the boat apart and then measured it, then right out just about where that storage shed is, starting turning upside down, used that as templates, and on to age 6 and so forth, put together my own handmade boat. But after that, eventually owning all kinds of boats and growing up in the sailing squadron, and mainly sailing mostly for fun, but it was on getting on up into a little more competition, Labor Day regattas and so forth, and then making a decision when I was a student at Duke. With all that would kept me in Durham, I said, no way, I'm going back to the University of Florida because I'm just hours from the sailing squadron in the St. Pete Yacht Club. St. Pete Yacht Club is the sailing capital of the South, at least, and if not the ocean racing capital of the world, because when we had the Southern Ocean Racing Circuit here in the winters, the big, quote, Yankee Yacht Club boats were down here racing against us, and we proved good metal. And then they built the interstate, so nobody came here anymore. And motels up and down the North Trail just had to close, turned into a mess because they weren't that many. You used to go up and down the North Trail before the interstate was built, and it was like a promenade, and you'd see all these beautiful neon signs, and you could tell what the winter was going to be like by the economy of just how many people were up and down the North Trail. Then we ended up with a lot of absentee owners, and but even before that happened, there was a time when they just couldn't, they didn't have the vision that all along the bay, I'm glad they didn't, but why not have mega houses if you're Mr. Real Estate? But all along that area, nobody did it. The Theories and Thielens who owned that actually gave it to, I think it was called what's called part gift, part sale, to the New College Foundation. The people of the Uplands have repeatedly had, because in the planning of this area, they gave access to the bay. You don't actually have a particular place you can go, but to have access to the bay, you have a right, a prescriptive right to go there by use. It's our old adverse possession law concepts. And then when Theory and Thielen did, whether it's gift or part gift, part sale, the land, in letters back and forth negotiating the deal, they reiterated the people of Uplands shall always be able to walk to the bay. There's a ditch on the north side of that dent zone that is, to the north of it is just clear property, kind of like it is. That was not a ditch when I grew up. That was a wandering stream, and it went down to another pond that was backed up in this area that was hidden, and you'd find all kinds of wildlife. And then it would go on out to, and it had a deep enough access between the mud flats that are out there to where I could actually get in it and swim out to the channel, the main channel. It's all silted in now, but well, in the 1950s I could swim out the main channel through that. I wasn't very big then either, but when I'm inside the water swimming, I'm in my own environment, and I'm home.